short 1-minute advertisement. This was when FedEx, the delivery company, was just beginning, and they had this advertisement they came out with. This was a while back, and this guy kind of became famous for this. So this is an example of why commas are needed.
Okay, Eunice, travel plans. I need to be in New York on Monday, LA on Tuesday, New York on Wednesday, LA on Thursday, New York on Friday. Got it? Got it. So you want to work here? What really makes you think you deserve a job?
Well, sir, I think I'm going to figure to have a sharp mind.
Excellent. Can you start on Monday?
Yes, sir, absolutely, without hesitation.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And in conclusion, Jim, Bill, Bob, call Fred, load, door, hip, and 10. Business is business, and as we all know, in order to get something done, you got to do something. In order to do something, we got to get to work. So let's get to work. Thank you for tuning in. Petey did a bang-up job. I'm putting you in charge of Pittsburgh. I know it's perfect, Peter. That's why I picked Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's perfect. Peter, may I call you Pete?
Call me Pete.
Pete.
Is Mr. Schnittler here to see you?
I'm going to wait 15 seconds.
Can you wait 15 seconds?
I'll wait 15 seconds.
Congratulations on your deal in Denver, Dave. I'm putting you down to deal with Dallas. Don, is it a deal? Do we have a deal? It's a deal. I got to go. I got a call coming in. Hi, Doc. Just tell the time.
In this fast-moving, high-pressure, get-it-done-yesterday world, aren't you glad there's one company that can keep up with it all?
You got a deal, good. I'm putting you down to deal with Dick. Dick, what's the deal with the deal? Are we dealing? We're dealing. Dave, it's a deal with Don, Doc, Dick. Doc, it's a deal with Dave, Dick, and Dave. Don, it's a doc with Dick, Dave, and Doug. Gotta go, Dave. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dick. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dad. Disconnecting.
Federal Express. When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight.
All right. Well, I don't know if any of you guys could understand him even in that ad, but imagine that in writing or if that was typed out. Commas are extremely important because they help you understand what someone's trying to explain better. It helps make your writing more clear, and in general, it helps everyone understand what you're trying to say. Okay, firstly, we need to know how to use commas appropriately. In many cases, people, even though this is simple stuff, people mess up using commas with coordinating conjunctions. And everybody knows the coordinating conjunctions and but and or, but using them with commas, some students mess it up. For, an incorrect example of how to use commas with a coordinating conjunction would be as follows. I coated the table with varnish and I sanded it again. Immediately, you guys know that makes no sense, doesn't sound right, and the comma after the and completely changes how the sentence sounds and makes it much more confusing. And the correct use would be as follows. I coated the table with varnish and I sanded it again. Now that makes much more sense. You can understand the two different chunks of the sentence. The first part, and then the comma separates it from the second part. It's easy, it's clear, it's understandable, and it just makes it much more easier to understand. Secondly, setting off introductory phrases with commas. Commas are necessary at the end of a long introductory phrase because it, once again, helps separate the two kind of main parts of the sentence. So the second part of the sentence is the main part that the writer's trying to get across, and the introductory phrase is what separates, is kind of leading into the main part of the sentence, and the comma separates those two. So no comma, where a comma would be needed, would be in this sentence, you'll see it when I read it, is, when Duran came home and saw the chopped pieces of hose, she was furious at Jessica. So when someone might be reading that in the paper or something like that, or just be reading that sentence, they might have to go back and read it a second time because they might not understand what the main part of the sentence, what the writer's trying to explain, because there's no comma separating the introductory phrase and the main part of the sentence. Correct sentence, it would be, with a comma, would be, when Duran came home and saw the chopped pieces of hose, she was furious at Jessica. That's much easier to understand. You get the main part of the sentence was, she was furious at Jessica, and then right there, the comma separates it from the introductory phrase. Alright, restrictive and non-restrictive modifiers with commas. Firstly, a restrictive modifier is when the information in a modifier is essential to the meaning, and then a non-restrictive modifier is when information adds to the sentence but doesn't necessarily change the meaning. So you'll see what I mean here in these examples. Okay, firstly, an example of a restricted modifier would read as, the charts drawn by hand were hard to read. There's no commas in this, and that doesn't make it grammatically incorrect. However, it does change the meaning. Read like this, or written like this, the sentence would imply that the other charts were easier to read than the hand-drawn ones. Since there's no commas, it just says, it explains that the charts drawn by hand were harder to read than other charts. An example of a non-restricted modifier in the same sentence would read such as this. the charts drawn by hand were hard to read. So this sentence adds the detail that charts were drawn by hand, but that's all it says. It doesn't necessarily imply that this was the reason that the charts were hard to read. It just says that they were drawn by hand. And lastly, and probably most importantly in my opinion, is using commas with quotations in our writing. Commas with quotations is very important in our writing because we need to know where to place them, inside the quotes, outside the quotes, and completely changes the tone or how you're trying to explain whatever you're writing. So an example of a proper way to use a comma with quotations would be, "Some books are meant to be chewed," said Francis Bacon, "and others to be digested." As you can see, the comma is in the first part of the quote is inside the quotations, and then the second comma after the phrase "said Francis Bacon" is also very important because it separates that phrase and smoothly leads into the rest of the quote. So without that comma, it makes it a little bit more confusing and not grammatically correct. And if we're using quotations in our writing and papers, maybe papers that we just did, KT is going to mark it wrong, obviously, and we're going to get points deducted. So it's important, even though it seems really tedious, it's very important. Another example would be, "The fire doors need to be replaced before the school can be reopened," the commissioner wrote. Once again, comma inside the quotation marks, and it separates it from the next phrase the commissioner wrote and makes it much easier and understandable to read. Alright, so finally, commas are extremely important in our writing because, once again, as I said, they help us understand the sentences better, and they help us come off as more clear in our writing, and it's very important to know how to use them appropriately so we can explain whatever we're trying to explain in the best way possible. And lastly, I'll end with a short clip. Have any of you guys seen or watched the TV series How I Met Your Mother on CBS? Yeah, I think it's it's been going on forever, like season 9 now. So this is from, I think, last season, and this is a short clip of where a comma would be needed as well.
Wait, Burns, do the...
Good catch.
Oh, sorry. I'll just leave it here, I guess.
Wait, Burns, do the...
Good catch. I almost just blurted out that Barney used to date Robin.
Barney used to date Robin.
When did you get in here?
Like 10 minutes ago when you said, "Hey Quinn, let's all go hang out in Marvin's room."
Oh, Wiedersehen, Fräulein. You know, I hate to perpetuate the stereotype, but German female wrestlers from Saxony are just begging for it.
You dated Robin?
Verdammt! I'm sorry I lied to you. I'll tell you everything, the whole story.
Fine, you have 1 minute before I walk out that door.
It's kind of a long story, Quinn. Gonna take a little bit longer than a minute.
52 seconds.
7 years ago when Marshall and Lily got engaged, Ted saw Robin across a crowded room, and I said, "Oh yeah, you just know she likes it dirty," but Ted really liked her, so we played Have You Met Ted? They went to dinner, he walked her home, should have kissed her, didn't lame. So he stole a Smurf penis, went back to her place, should have kissed her, didn't lame. He threw 3 parties, they kissed on the roof, but decided to be friends, lame. Then Ted wanted to take Robin to a wedding, she couldn't go, he went alone and met Victoria, didn't kiss her either, lame. Not a great closer, Ted. Then he finally kissed her, they started dating, she went to Germany, Ted kissed Robin, lost Victoria, Ted did a rain dance, got Robin, Ted and Robin broke up, Robin moved to Brazil, came back with a Latin stud, Ted got jealous, got a tramp stamp, not really relevant to the story, I just like mentioning that as much as possible. I hooked up with Robin, Ted and I stopped being friends, Ted got hit by a bus, we made up. Robin and I started dating, I got fat, her hair fell out, we broke up, Robin dated Dawn, I dated Nora, cheated on her with Robin, I dumped Nora, Robin dated Kevin, but not for long, and then I met you, and you took my grandpa's watch, but I fell in love with you anyway, and you let me fart in front of you, and I asked you to marry me, and you said yes, and we came over here to meet Little Marvin, and that's everything. Also, I went on The Price is Right, and I want a dune buggy.
Goodbye, Barney.
Goodbye, Jim.
Alright, that's obviously an example of how comma would be necessary in that. That's it.